don't attend can join with us.
Should we get started?
Yeah.
Great. Welcome, everybody. I'm excited to hear all the updates today that we're going to have and focus on the topic of how we rein in all these issues related to social equity. And just want to say how much I appreciate all of the tremendous work that the HPDC staff has been doing over the last, well, forever. And all of you and everybody on the committees, it's really an amazing amount of work, as you'll see. I will remind everyone of the antitrust statements and the conflict of interest policy. And if anybody has any conflicts, speak up at any time. And I'll turn it over to you, Wendy.
Thank you very much, Mike, and welcome everyone to our third quarter 2024 user advisory panel call. We're really excited about the updates today and every aspect of our operations. You can see that we've continued to have, significant growth in the HPDC membership. And in fact, I updated this number at the beginning of the month, and we've added another about 10 members since we had that number. So that's really exciting. We're continuing to see, large numbers of HPDs published every month from a growing number of manufacturers. Again, this was created at the beginning of the month. And this last week, we actually had 284 HPDs published in the last 2 weeks. And so we've been sort of ticking along at the 300 to 400 per month level, but that is an even higher level. And we continue to have new manufacturers coming in all the time. And in fact, I was speaking with one of our ecosystem partners just this morning, who said to me that they are starting to reach out to owners, which I think is really an interesting development in terms of extending the use of some of the tools for sustainability and material health. This particular ecosystem member does significant work in material health. That's why we're working with them, but other aspects of sustainability as well. And the comment was made that in talking with owners about the types of information and how they're going to present the information, how they're going to help owners get their hands around all of this, one of the things that consistently came up from every single one of them was they wanted HPDs. And as this person said, they look at that as the source of the data. And of course, that's been our goal all along, is to establish the HPD report, the HPD open standard, as a reliable, accurate, and consistent method for reporting the material health information about the product ingredients and the associated human and environmental health hazards and other information related to health. So I think this, is very, very, very encouraging. We're going to hear an update in just a few minutes from Corey about all the work that's going on with the HPD open standard, which has been very substantial. We're still on track with our version 3.0 development, and Corey's going to touch on the key components of that we really want to get into production. So our goal is to finish substantially the development by the end of the year so that we can get this into production sometime early in 2025. And that, as you know, is going to have some really notable new features, in particular, the modular dashboard. Now, if you want to get a preview of how to use HPDs with dashboards. Of course, we've developed the dashboard feature now in the HPD public repository as part of the material health tool suite. And so I just want to really encourage everyone, if you haven't gone on to the repository to check out these new features, we'd really invite you to do that. We'd love to hear your feedback on, we've had such really important feedback on how to use these new features. If you only had this, it would work so much better for the way we do it. And that sort of learning by doing, that experiential learning is crucial to our goal to get these really in super shape by the time we hit green build in the middle of November, where we will have the opportunity to present and demonstrate these tools to the largest audience, that we have available to us in person every year. And we need these tools to be successful, particularly with project teams. And they are the vehicle, we believe, that can address that number one pain point of, even if I want to do assessment and optimization of my products for my project, the time and expertise required, even when I start with an HPD report, is a lot. So with the combination of the dashboard filters, and in particular, the pre-check feature, what that does is it takes a defined set of criteria, which can have some levels, and it enables a one-click screening of all the HPDs in the database, or in a particular CSI classification and so on, according to those criteria, to see which ones are aligned with those requirements. And so that is a very, very important element. And I'm really excited to announce that this item right down here, create download queues for export to other workflow tools. We're going to be doing a pilot. In fact, I saw Lana with ZGF and Building Ease on this new feature to check it out and make sure it's working really well. And so we will be doing that here in Q4 and getting this in operation. What this will enable is, if you've done that curated selection of HPDs using the repository features, you're going to be able to send that set of HPDs you've selected to our API partner workflow tools so that they turn up there, and then you can start your continue your product selection activities in those product libraries or workflow tools, starting with a set of products where the HPDs are aligned with your material health requirement. And we all know that if you try and do it the other way around, if you try and figure that out after you've selected the products you really like for the project, sometimes it can be even the null set, right? There aren't any that align, even if you have time to check it all out. So this is going to be both, I think, a time saver and also an enabler to a much higher level of material health performance for projects. And of course, that closed loop back with the manufacturers is essential. So if you find a product and it's got something that seems to be a question, we also have built into these new tools the opportunity to send specific queries directly to the manufacturer representative for that HPD. And so if it's an active HPD, that's someone who published it within the last 3 years, and hopefully that individual even, would respond to that email request. And we've automated all of that in these new tools. So I really encourage you, if you haven't yet checked those out, to do that. The other thing I wanted to highlight today is our upcoming Material Health Open Innovation Symposium 5. That is going to be, it says EST here, that's not correct, it's EDT. We noticed that was a typo. So it's going to be at noon, starting noon Eastern on Tuesday, October 15th. We have a terrific lineup of speakers beginning with our keynote speaker, who is going to be Joel Tickner from Change Chemistry. And as we start to shift more of the emphasis of practice from just collecting HPDs and reporting what benchmark ones or whatever that there are through screening, the next step, assessment, is really important. Which of these do I prefer? And then how do I get the most optimal product set possible as optimization? And also from the manufacturer side, looking at just the ingredient level. And so we've been collaborating with the Change Chemistry group. If you're not familiar with their new name, their old name was GC3. They focus on safer chemical alternatives and developing collaborations with the chemical industry as well as manufacturers. And it's a multi-industry initiative. And so in the built environment, some of the other industries, I will say, in terms of those types of efforts, are a little further along because they long ago came up with lists of chemicals that people want to do something about. We see an opportunity for that same sort of thing here in the built environment, and the collaboration that we have been working on is around how can we come up with that kind of an initiative that would really help us all focus and collaborate together to accomplish goals like that more rapidly, because the means are becoming at hand with all the various tools, both ours and the other ones in the industry, to do much more and hopefully more rapidly than we've seen progress on that in the past. If you have a case study, it's not too late to submit it. September 30th is our submission deadline. We have occasionally extended it, but we'd really encourage you to take all the great people on this call. You're leaders in this. The work that you're doing probably is on the leading edge of material health practice, and that's what we want to show at this event, with both the aspirational, where are we headed, what can we go, where can we go, such as the keynote, the examples in our case studies of what people working on the leading edge of material health practice are doing. And then we also will have 6 really great ecosystem participant presentations about the latest things that are happening in the tool platforms and so on to help you advance material health practice. And so it's going to be, I think, another really terrific event. If you haven't signed up to attend, it's free and it's virtual. So you can find those links. You should have emails that have come to you. Also on our website are the links to sign up. Right on the homepage, you'll see an announcement about it. And so I just encourage you again, we're really looking for, we've got some interesting submissions, but there's room for more. And we do award this award to the top 4, and those are presented at the event. And all the other ones are published in our proceedings. So we put those on our website so everyone can see all the great work that's going on. The final thing I want to touch on is just Greenbuild. We will be there. It's in Philadelphia this year. We still are working on finding a host for our annual member meeting. We have a couple possibilities that we're working on, but if it's something where you have a great office there that would have a wonderful space, please get in touch with me. And we will have our annual meeting there on November 12th, as we normally do. And that will be in person. And in Philadelphia, we will have our booth at Greenbuild, and we certainly invite all of you to come. We hope to see many of you in person there again this year. So I'll stop there and see if anyone has any comments or questions on the member update. Okay, so I'll move right along to Corey White, who's going to be giving us an update on our technical programs and committees. Corey, do you want to present from your screen?
Yes, yep, I'll do that. All right, let's see here. All right, there we go. All right, well, hi everyone. If you don't know me, my name is Corey White, I'm the technical director. Really do a lot of the work with a lot of our technical subgroups, technical committees, and then my biggest role, I would say, is a translator to translate a lot of this technical knowledge to technical knowledge for our developers. So again, we're trying to create those automated tools in order to make material participating in the material health world easier and easier. From the technical committee perspective, in 2023, we really had like this great foundation, and we asked the question of like, what do we want to build on this foundation? That foundation being a whole lot of data, a whole lot of data that didn't necessarily have a story behind it. And once we tell the story of the data, it becomes information, valuable information. So in 2024, we had the blueprints finally, and we wanted to get it built. So in 2023, we created the blueprints. In 2024, it's like, let's start getting this stuff built. So it's an exciting time, especially right now. And really, all of this work, what we're doing is we're keeping it within where we want to make the biggest impact. And obviously, what we do at HPDC is we provide accurate, reliable, and consistent reporting methodologies for transparency. But we also want to move into optimization, right? That's the natural progression. Is now that we know what's in our products, it's time to start making those products better. So we want to continue to be able to provide tools, like software, with our technical subgroups that are subject matter experts, and a combination of those things. We feel like we can really provide valuable material transparency data. And once we present that and make that information available, we think that could help manufacturers continue to optimize their products. And so a high level plan of how we do this is we have to continue to do what we do well: advanced screening and reporting of data. So that means as new things come up in the marketplace, new chemicals, PFAS, for example, right? We need to continuously be updating our screening and reporting of data to reflect those hot topics, to make sure we're getting the information that people need in front of them. We also want to be able to tell the story behind that data, and that's where we can use things like the lead pre-check, program pre-checks. Again, if you haven't checked out the Material Health Tool Suite yet, this is the awesome thing that we're doing with all of this data now. Like, it's coming to life. So please give us feedback on that. We need that feedback so we can get you, the users, the right information that you need. And that's going to be especially important as we move into version 3.0, which I'll get into in a little bit. We're going to just continue to advance the HPD Open Standard. We have to do that hand in hand. That's our foundation to make sure we have an accurate and reliable and consistent data. And then finally, I've already alluded to this, turning that data into information. Information is just data with a story. So trying to frame up what that story looks like. And that's where we get help from all of you. You guys know what you need and what you want to see in your businesses. So giving us that feedback, we can funnel this data to tell the right story. You just have to tell us what story needs to be told. So in 2024, our priorities, we're really starting to focus in on version 3.0. And 3.0 is simply unlocking the data, which we were alluding to before. But we did choose to prioritize something before doing that, and that would be the transparency and optimization indicators, which is another storytelling tool that we are creating. And it's exciting to say that the optimization indicator in itself is actively working on the stage right now. And I'll get into that a little bit more, but exciting stuff there. Also on the social equity front, we are going to be providing social equity certifications that has been, like many things, a bigger can of worms than we ever thought it would be. But Emily is going to be talking about that today, and she can, I'll let her talk more about that. Last thing we really focused in on too, sort of in between while we've been starting to get some of this development done, is we want to make sure that what we're doing, we don't ever just stop getting better at what we do. So there's a lot of existing really great infrastructure in place with our best practices, special conditions, hazard reporting. We want to continue to focus on those bottlenecks, and most of those bottlenecks tended to be best practices and special conditions. We took a deep dive into almost every single one of these in our technical subgroups. And we have found ways to make those even easier and easier, automate those further. So again, we're trying to create that easy button. Nothing about this work is easy though, right? But the more we can automate, the more tools and connections we can make to make it easier to participate is the whole goal. That's where we're positioned as HPDC, is we can be the start, because we truly do provide an automated solution. So those are the items we're working on. I'm gonna take a quick second here to talk about the transparency and optimization indicators really quickly, because we are going to be pushing those out in a version 2.3 update, and then I'll move into version 3.0, and I'm going to go over this very quickly, high level. So if you have any questions, comments, feel free to reach out to Wendy and I, and we can get those answered. Transparency and optimization indicators, we've talked about these several times on these calls, but really what we're looking at doing is we're trying to address an issue. We're trying to provide this best practice sort of roadmap for businesses to follow to improve transparency and start to begin to optimize products, right? Create better and better products. And also, with lead as well, sometimes it's difficult to understand. That's where things like the pre-checks come in. And moving forward, this is where we want to position these transparency and optimization indicators as well. And the reason why we think, the reason why we want to do this is because this is not just an HPDC initiative. I want to make that crystal clear. There was some confusion around that we're doing this all on our own. We're just creating some scorecard. That's not the case at all. This is a solution, a scoring-based system, but it's a solution that was harmonized between all of our technical subgroups, technical committee, and most of all, we started with our ecosystem partners. This actually started back in LEED version 4.1 several years ago, but this is a harmonized effort. This is all of us coming together as an ecosystem, and that's why this has taken so long and it's been so complicated, because we're taking all of these complicated topics and trying to streamline them into a harmonized roadmap that it talks about language the same way. So I think a really great thing that happened out of this whole effort was we were able to harmonize language across our different organizations, which is really cool. So I just want to remind everyone that this is not just HPDC doing it. We're simply the software solution behind it, but we're not the driver necessarily. The ecosystem partners, people like C2C, ILFI, Green Seal, BIFMA, they've all participated in this, and we've come to an agreed upon solution to continue to push forward not only transparency, but push forward optimization as well. So status. It's really exciting to announce that the optimization indicator is on the stage. This will not be available to the public. Before we can make this available to the public, the technical committee will do another approval process of this. And this is because we want to make sure that all this work that we've done, we want to make sure that we're truly promoting, and we're promoting the sections of the HPD and of the other programs where we want to see the most growth. And for example, we don't want to see that a manufacturer can score more when they report at 1,000 parts per million than 100 parts per million, because we want to promote more transparency, right? We want to report more disclosure. So what we need to do though is we need to send a bunch of HPDs through these indicators to make sure that they are truly telling the story and pushing the market forward in the direction of superior transparency and making better products. And that's all I'll say about that right now. Again, if you have questions, feel free to reach out. But I do want to dive quickly into version 3.0. Again, version 3.0 is taking this PDF and making it a flexible and modular, putting into a flexible and modular format. Right now, what we're doing is we're starting to limit the scope. So we've done a lot of work with the bottlenecks and the best practices, special conditions to make those better and better. What we want to do though is we want to push some of those off to a later update and really focus in on getting version 3.0 set. As I said before, the optimization, transparency indicators, we push that forward in front of version 3.0. So we really do want to limit the scope of the initial update so we can continue to hit our launch date of the first half of 2025. So those things highlighted in yellow is what I'll be talking about today very briefly. And what will be so far what we think will be part of version 3.0. And there still needs to be some approvals, but a lot of these are already scoped out. So the first one, that thank you to Mike Manzi, who has done most of the work on this from the inception, is the product type. So in version 2.3, we implemented the product type field, and this is to help people find HPDs easier. It's an enhancement from the CSI classification numbers that might be confusing to the general public or maybe not specific enough. This product type is going to help people continue to be able to search HPDs easier, and it also allows for things like synonyms. In version 2.3, we implemented the most used CSI classifications. So in this update, we want to implement the rest of the CSI classifications and then update the product types to harmonize with Athena. Athena has already done all of this work, we found out, well, Mike found out. So, and they gave us their spreadsheet. So we're going to harmonize with them since they did the work and they're already using this. We're going to harmonize with them and get the rest of the product types implemented here in version 3.0. A big one is going to be the EU HPD. And as a reminder, the EU HPD is simply the HPD, but the data is filtered in a different way. So in version 3.0, we will have a flexible and modular format. And it will be, like a web page of what an HPD is. Well, the EU HPD will be like sort of a toggle, a different view of that data. The same data is going to be in the HPD builder, but we'll be able to funnel that data differently so it makes sense for the EU market. Some of the things that we report in the North America market just doesn't make sense or doesn't necessarily align with the regulatory landscape of the EU. So we'll be able to toggle between both of these views. So then we can hit an entire new market and provide, again, the story, the right information to the people that are viewing this data. The HPD unique identifier, as we continue to digitize things, this is going to be a unique identifier that will, go through the internet right with the HPD, like as an attachment, so we can continue to identify which HPD is being used by our API data partners. Long story short, this is going to be mostly an automated process. So the first part of it will be the country code here, which will be automated, the organization code, which will be automated, and then the product code will be here, which will be simply the SKU numbers that a manufacturer will put into the HPD builder. And if there's multiple SKU numbers for one single HPD, you would put multiple SKU numbers in there, and it would generate multiple unique product IDs for that HPD. The one special condition that we will be putting into version 3.0, the other ones we're going to be pushing off to a later update, is the metal alloy special condition. So we thought that getting a hold of metal alloy trade associations to create these metal alloy trade association HPDs that manufacturers were supposed to be referencing in the metal alloy special condition, we thought that was going to be pretty easy to do. It wasn't as easy as we thought. Besides copper, we haven't really gotten a bunch of help, I guess, from these organizations. So what we need to do is we need to develop an additional reporting mechanism for the metal alloy special condition. And so the thought is right now, this isn't approved, but the thought right now is we will have a Just like the metal alloy special condition is right now, you can use a trade association metal alloy HPD as a reference, but instead of having to manually fill those things out, we want to automate that. And if you choose that, the builder will automatically add that information in there. That's the thought, at least.
Yeah.
The next one is if a or a trade association metal alloy HPD is not available, we'll provide a drop-down menu so you can do your own hazard assessment on that metal alloy. So then, also with the additional listings, you'll be able to do that as well. So then you can do all of your metal alloys within the metal alloy special condition. You don't have to do it via the traditional methodology. This is going to be important because, as many of you know, these metal alloys have BM1 and LT1 green screen scores. And going forward, as more organizations focus on optimization, as more organizations create pre-checks and dashboards, they're going to start filtering out HPDs that have these things in them. And this metal alloy special condition makes sure that your HPD, even though it has a BM1 LT1 that is a metal alloy, it makes sure that it still shows up in those, even when that's filtered. Okay, so it's going to be really important because doing this is not going to make those elements, those scores, those green screen scores show up on your summary side. So more to come on that one, but that one definitely needs to happen here in version 3.0. The last one I'll talk briefly about is PFAS. PFAS is obviously a huge hot topic right now. And so what we did is we did some research. We have a research assistant, her name's Laura. She did a great job of taking a look at all of the HPDs and doing an analysis to figure out where are we seeing PFAS in the building industry right now. So actually just yesterday, we had a meeting with all of our technical committee, technical subgroup committee members, and we took a look at this topic as a whole. And really what we want to do is we want to move forward with doing some sort of attestation for PFAS in the HPD builder, similarly to the antimicrobials. And there's a couple of reasons why this is necessary. So the first thing we saw in the research is we actually didn't see that many products with PFAS in them. And we thought, hopefully that's just a good thing. But what we're discovering in different industries is that manufacturers just don't know. So this is going to be hopefully a roadmap, a way, a standardized way of how to figure out if PFAS is in your products and if it's in your supply chain. And then if you do find it, what do you do, right? We want to be able to provide all of that information to manufacturers so they can start this journey, because come 2025, there's going to be regulatory requirements around this as well. So this attestation will most likely have either no PFAS in products or no intentionally added PFAS in products. We're also going to be requiring manufacturers to report PFAS on the attestation below 100 parts per million. So this is why the attestation really is needed, because what our thought is a lot of the PFAS probably is below the reporting threshold. So we're going to ask manufacturers to go below their reporting threshold and do testing on. They're going to have to do testing to verify whether PFAS is truly in their products or not. We're also thinking that there's going to need to be some sort of third-party verification. We just know of manufacturers out there right now, in order to do business with them, you have to prove you don't have PFAS in your product, and it has to be third-party verified. So we're thinking that possibly we might provide an option to allow just that PFAS attestation to be third-party verified and not the entire HPD to save on cost. Again, that's just a thought. And then the last thing is we want to make sure that we're not only helping, project teams with, being able to filter these things out in a pre-check or on the dashboards. We also want to make sure we're helping manufacturers, right? If there's certain data, certain testing that they need to do for regulatory requirements, in the US or in Canada or in the EU. We want to make sure that that's part of it, because if they start this process with us and we can give them the best practices that have been used across many different organizations, it's only going to help them then comply with the regulatory requirements. So we want to make sure we're helping project teams, but also the manufacturers, because this is a confusing topic. And I'm going to stop there, but I do just want to thank technical committee members, technical subgroup members. We've covered just so much material, and we have so much more to go. But thank you so much for a good Q1, Q2, and Q3. So I will leave it at that. We do need to get Emily going here, so I'll probably turn it over to her. But if you do have questions or comments, feel free to email Wendy or I, and we will get those answered for you.
Thanks, Corey. I'll share my screen now.
Go right ahead, Emily.
Yep.
Yeah, whoever's sharing right now. Okay, there we go.
Oh.
Perfect. Okay. Hi, everyone. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, great. Okay. So for some of you, this is going to be a little repetitive, but I will be sharing an update on our social equity certifications work, which has expanded into, as Corey said, a larger project. And I'm going to start with just, again, reviewing why this update is important. So first, well, you know what? Now that I'm thinking about this, I want to just first give you the visual of what section we're currently looking at reformatting. So this is section 3. That's currently 4 certifications in the builder. And about a year ago, the Social Equity TSG was tasked with adding in certifications related to social equity claims for building products. And so we started the work on this, and we thought it would be relatively easy, just adding to this drop-down menu names of different social equity certifications that we found. But the more work we did on it, the more we realized that it's way more nuanced than just adding certifications to this drop-down menu. And it was important for us to do more research on this so that ultimately we would be avoiding what we use in the TSG called swashing. So it's like greenwashing, but for social equity information. So over the course of the last year, I've led the charge on doing a lot of research on these various social equity claims and trying to find a way to incorporate those different social equity claims into this section of the builder. And revisiting what I was starting with, why this is important. We've found that there's a lot of misinformation about social equity in building products. So a lot of misinformation related to social equity in building products. And just as an example of this, for the last 2 years, we've found that in the surveys that we've sent out to both building design teams and manufacturers, there is a lot of people responding that, for example, they use the JUST label when researching third-party verified certifications. And as I'm sure many of you know, the JUST label is not a certification and it's not third-party verified. It's a self-declaration. So misinformation was a big thing that we realized needed to be addressed here. And then we also just realized that there's a gap between the information that's currently provided for social equity compliance types and the context that building design teams need to make informed decisions. So sometimes they have some of the information, but they don't really know what that means, or they have some of the information, but that's not the information they actually need. It's not the essential information they need to make decisions. And then the more work we did on this, the more we realized that just in general, the Section 3 of the builder is pretty narrowly formatted for a specific type of certification. And there are certifications that aren't even social equity related, that we realized there needed to be some reformatting in this section to include those as well in a way that's accurate. So as I shared, here's the current section. And through all of this, we've identified multiple opportunities to update this section. The first thing that we realized is that there just needs to be a common framework for organizing this information related to the many social equity claims that are available on the market. There's currently not a common framework for organizing this information, and I've done a lot of work with Design for Freedom on this. I've done work with Mindful Materials. I've worked in small groups with people on the social equity TSG. Oh, Summer, I think you're not muted. So yeah, we realized that there needed to be a common framework for this, and we also realized through doing this work that this update for Section 3, as well as the location indicator and the Design for Freedom supplier questionnaire, which are also work that we've done on the social equity TSG, all three of these combined is a really great starting point to provide the information needed to building design teams to make decisions about social equity related information. And then just in general, there is just an opportunity to increase the usability of this section by expanding the reporting methodology to be inclusive of a greater number of compliance types. So what information did we want to provide? So as we sorted through all of these different claims, we wanted to look into what kind of compliance claim this is. Is it a certification? Is it a declaration? Is it a membership? What is the claim actually certifying or making a statement about? Is it the finished product? Is it more an upstream or raw material? Is it a claim about the entire company and their social equity policies that could trickle down to the product level? We also realized that there needed to be somewhere where it was reported if there was a certain level of achievement that could make a difference when evaluating the social equity performance. So for example, in some certifications, there's bronze, silver, gold, or platinum levels, and all of those have different social equity achievements within them, and that's important to differentiate. Does this claim only apply to only certain facilities or product lines? And were optional social equity credits within the rating systems actually achieved? We wanted to find a way to actually make that explicit, whether those credits had been achieved or not. Here's a review of many of the social equity claims. I researched all of these, and we won't spend a ton of time on this page or this slide, but just to give you an example of all of the different claims that we researched for this. And then here are the new proposed fields for Section 3. So the first one is trying to answer that question, what kind of claim is this? And the different compliance claim types that we organized are a certification, a self-declaration, a pledge, or a membership. And then this second field, compliance scope, is trying to answer that question, what is this certification or claim actually certifying or making a statement about? So is it more of that raw material or upstream material, product or product line or company facility level. And then the third field here is the rank, level, or score. So that indicates what level of achievement this certification or the product reached. So for example, Cradle to Cradle Silver or BES 6002 Ethical Labor Sourcing Standard Maturity Pathway Level 3. Okay, so now I'm just going to show you some visuals of what this will actually look like. This is, again, an example of what it currently is. And the fields here are just the certifying party, applicable facilities, the URL, any notes, issue and expiry date, and then who the certifier or lab is. And this will not work for many of the claims for social equity, nor does it really work for some of the certifications that are already included in this section. So this is what we are proposing. We may reorganize where some of these fields go, but the more important thing that we're working on is addressing those questions that I mentioned here. So we will be, first of all, adding anywhere that there's certification. We want to make sure that we're making it very clear that some of these are not actually certifications. So we're adding in compliance as another term here. And then we also are adding in things like auditor so that we're not just making it applicable to very specific types of certifications. So here it's certifier or lab. We're expanding that to certifier, verifier, testing lab, or auditor. And then here are the additional fields that we will add for social equity reporting. What's the scope of this compliance? Again, this is getting to that question of what is this actually certifying or making a statement about? What type of compliance claim is this? Is it a certification, a declaration, a pledge? And then what achievement level is this? So in this example, Cradle to Cradle, it's silver. I'm just going to go through a few more examples to give you an idea of how this will look in different compliance claims. This is just, and here it would say social equity because just is focused on social equity, whereas Cradle to Cradle is multi-attribute. So it would say social equity here, just 2.0, and then it would indicate the category and the indicator. So in this case, it's the equity category and the living wage indicator. And this is important because if any of you know, JUST has many different categories and you self-assess for all of those. So you might have a level 2 assessment for something like the equity category, but you might have a level 1 assessment for a different category. You can see here, we're making it very clear that this is self-declared as opposed to certification. We are making it clear that this is speaking to the company practices as opposed to a product or an upstream material. Here's another example, the International Tin Supply Chain Initiative. This is a membership and it's focused on an upstream material. And then this is the last one that I wanted to show an example of because BIFMA has optional social equity credits. So we're making it very clear that they're reporting for achievement of those social equity credits. And this is at the product level. They achieved gold and it's a certification that's third-party verified. Our next steps with this, we know that this is going to have a very heavy educational component. And so we plan to have a webinar on this. We plan to have a written report on how we got to this point, the research that went into it, the framework that we're using to organize this information, and then starting with that best practices framework for social equity, which would include also the location indicator as well as the Design for Freedom supplier questionnaire. And then, oh, I included that here. So yeah, here, this is the framework that we would be developing. And with that, that is the end of my presentation. Not sure if there's time for questions, but I'm happy to answer any questions as well.
Yeah, Emily, we do have a few minutes for questions that anybody might have. We'd love your feedback on this. You know, as Emily said, it's turned out to be a much more complicated undertaking than originally we thought it would be. We thought it'd be a simple matter of identifying what these were and adding them to our drop-down menu. I'll blame me for that naive view, but you know, it has been an amazing body of work by the social equity technical subgroup, and I know we have a couple of members of that group on our call today, and just want to thank all of them and you, Emily, for your leadership in pulling this together. And I think the other thing that's so important about this is that it is a harmonized solution. You know, going back to the words that Corey had, that is at the core of all the work we have done with the HPD open standard since its conceptualization. None of this is really going to work at scale if we don't first bring together all the best thinking, what are the best practices of the people who are doing this work today. And I think we've been so fortunate to have great collaboration on this project with Grace Farms, Mindful Materials, and others that, as well as the members of the subgroup who have all contributed ideas and thoughts, and I think really strengthened that. So we should hopefully make our way through the technical committee in the next little bit of time here, and you know, address all the issues that have been raised about how to really make this fit as best as possible and really enhance as best as we can the overall function. The other thing I think that's so important about this is that we have learned what an incredibly diverse area of thinking social equity is, let alone when you look at the intersection with material health. And that I think has been a help for us because we have a focus on it. We can say, well, how does this relate to the things that are reported in the HPD, and really use that as a lens for understanding it. But it's an area of great interest, and enabling both manufacturers and project teams to have this type of structure. And we've concluded that the work going on these certifications and reportings and ratings really is the leading edge of practice right now. There's not at all kind of obvious things. We've added the location indicator, but our goal was to try and find some specific things that might really have a consensus around them in terms of other pieces of data. We have found an area of practice within this that has strong consensus as the most important right now, and that is around modern slavery and forced labor types of practices. And so that is where we've intensified our work there, and partnering with Grace Farms and others. So anyway, again, thank you to everybody on the TSG and Emily for the great work on this. So let's see if there are any other comments or questions about this. Okay, so we'll move along to wrapping up our meeting for today. So we love your involvement. We will have our Q4 meeting on December 6th. And so that should be on your calendar. If you haven't clicked accept for that meeting, please do, so that if there are any updates to the schedule, if you haven't accepted it, at least on some calendars, you won't get those updates. So that's an important thing to do. Take a look. If it says tentative or whatever, please click accept. and we'll forgive you if you don't come. But that's what these recordings are for as well. We do right now have our open call for HPDC board nominations. That is open. We've extended that deadline through October 10th. And so I would really encourage you, you can find the link for that. Both you should have notifications in your email as well as on the homepage of our website. And if you have any questions about that and have an interest in that, or someone in your organization you think would be good for that, please encourage them to get in touch with myself, Mike Manzi, anyone on the board. We're happy to answer questions, and we do have several open seats where the incumbent has term limited off the board. So I think there's a great opportunity there for new members to come on board. And then our technical committee, we will have nomination opening sort of mid-December timeframe. It runs through January. So that's another one that if you've thought about participation there, that's a great place to get into more of the nitty-gritty of some of these updates that you saw today and help us really make sure that they work for material health practitioners like yourselves. And then we already talked about the symposium and Greenbuild and our annual member meeting coming up. So with that update, I will turn it back over to Mike Manzi.
Thank you, Wendy. And thanks everyone for joining the call today. Thanks again so much to Emily and Corey for the updates and all the great work that the TSGs and the technical committee have been doing. I'm always amazed at how much work gets done by a small team on a tight budget over and over again, consistently. Very, very excellent work. So we'll keep moving forward and see you all on the next call.
Thank you, everyone.
Mike, if I could just steal a moment for everybody is
Oh, sorry, Jeff, go ahead.
before everybody signs off, and everybody wants to click the red X and get on to their next thing. But if you could, I've included a link to the board of directors nomination. So check that in the chats. There's 3 links I'd like everybody to just click on right now. And so one's for the nominations. One is for the Zoom events registration for the symposium. And everybody, Emily and Corey included, if you haven't already registered, let's go ahead and click and register now. And then the last and final thing, the real reason why I wanted to hop onto this call that I'm not usually on, is to make a special appeal to you and everyone in your sphere of influence to really encourage people to submit their case studies for the Material Health All-Star Award. So this is an annual opportunity to be recognized for the hard work that people have been doing all year. So this is the last link I did want to share. We've extended the nomination deadline for the board, and we've also extended the deadline for submitting case studies to the All-Star Award. And I seem to, I'm going to stop sharing my screen so I can share this link. So please click on all 3 of these links so you kind of have them in context, and please direct anyone who you think might be a good contender for the All-Star Award to that link. It is an easy application process. There are just like 3 form fields to fill out. So this is not a big time commitment, but we really think we get a good platform for people to get recognized for their work. And so let's encourage participation.
Thank you so much, Jeff.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff.
Okay, everyone.
Thanks.
Have a great quarter, and we'll hope to see many of you at Greenbuild and definitely on the symposium. We're looking for you there.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks.